All right, let's begin. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone who have joined today, and welcome to today's webinar, Fast Track Your Trials, Standardize Clinical Data with Cloudbyz EDC. My name is Pooja Sood, and I'm super delighted to be your host and facilitator for this session. On behalf of the entire Cloudbyz team, thank you so much for joining us as we explore smarter ways to simplify clinical data management, accelerate study builds, and ensure compliance right from the point of data capture. We'll walk through the current challenges in clinical research, showcase strategies to streamline study startup, and demonstrate how cloud-based solutions are helping life sciences organizations move faster without compromising compliance. Here are quick housekeeping notes to make sure you have the best experience today. The session is recorded and we'll be sharing the recording and presentation slides with you after the webinar. Your microphones are muted, but you can always submit your questions anytime using the Q&A panel. Yes, so this session is recorded and we'll share the recording and presentation both with you after the webinar. Please watch out for your inbox. Your microphones are muted, but you can always submit your questions anytime using the Q&A panel. We'll answer them live during the Q&A session towards the end. And if you face any technical issues, please feel free to drop a message in the chat and our team will promptly assist you. And then now moving on to the agenda, we'll first quickly cover an overview of Cloudbyz and our mission to transform clinical trial management, the modern trial challenges which are slowing down study startup and their impact on cost and timelines. The next would be how Cloudbyz simplifies study builds and delivers built-in CDISC compliance at the point of capture. Then we move on to managing mid-study amendments with seamless version control to eliminate disruption. And lastly, we'll have a live demo of Cloudbyz EDC in action. Along with that, we will explore the unified platform advantage for faster, more connected clinical operations. And lastly, we'll wrap up with an interactive Q&A session. We hope you stay till the end. We're really excited for today. Now, before we begin to the main discussion, let me quickly give you an overview of who we are and what we do. Cloudbyz is a leading e-clinical solutions provider. Our platform is one of the fastest growing unified clinical trial management solutions in the market, designed 100% on the Salesforce platform. This offers a unique blend of scalability, modularity, and configurability to suit your specific business needs and processes. Our mission is simple: to empower sponsors, CROs, and research sites to conduct faster, smarter, and more connected clinical trials, reducing your overall operational complexity while ensuring global regulatory compliance. Our comprehensive suite of products covers the entire spectrum of clinical trial management, including the CTMS, which is a flagship product and facilitates seamless end-to-end project management for clinical trials, the CTFM, which is an essential tool for managing financial aspects of clinical research, which includes your budget planning, payment automation, and financial tracking. Then we have the ETMF, which is a robust document management solution ensuring compliance and efficient data handling. The EDC, the demo that we'll discover today, is a powerful data management platform with drag and drop study builds, CDASH-compliant templates, and real-time data validation. And lastly, patient recruitment engagement, which boosts enrollment and retention through site and patient-friendly tools. We're also exploring the future of clinical trials with the recently launched AI-powered platform, the clinicalwave.ai, featuring tools like ClinRedact, ClinExtract, and ClinDICOM, which help clinical trial users efficiently handle PHI and PII data across trial documents and DICOM images. Beyond our solutions, Cloudbyz has also been featured in Everest Matrix as a leading provider of e-clinical solutions, highlighting our commitment to excellence and innovation. Our products seamlessly integrate with your existing systems, offering a unified workflow to ensure your clinical trial processes run smoothly and efficiently. Globally, we are present in 3 countries. Our headquarters is in Chicago, USA, with regional offices in Toronto, Canada, and an offshore delivery center in Bangalore, India, allowing us to support clients across different time zones. Our solutions are fully compliant with global safety regulations, including FDA 21 CFR Part 11, GCP, HIPAA, and more, ensuring quality and security in every aspect of clinical trial management. We're proudly ISO 9001 and 27001 certified, and we continue to be recognized for our commitment to quality and security. We're also honored to have been featured among the top 5 emerging pharmacovigilance startups by Startup US and to be recognized by the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in America. For more information, you can always visit our website cloudbyz.com or reach out to us at info@cloudbyz.com to book a personalized demo. We really look forward to helping you bring life-saving therapies to market faster and improve patient lives worldwide. Thank you so much for your attention so far. Now I'd like to introduce you to our speakers. We first have Corinne Cato, who's an account executive here at Cloudbyz and partners with customers to align clinical operations with eClinical solutions that drive study efficiency and site engagement. Next, we have Tunir. He's a life sciences solutions manager here at Cloudbyz who specializes in helping organizations leverage Cloudbyz to optimize data capture, compliance, and operational workflows. And with that, let's dive into the main topic and now hand over to Tanir.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pooja, for that wonderful introduction and introducing the topic. I would now like to take the conversation forward by discussing the challenges that clinical data managers face today. Now, these include ensuring that the data is collected, the study data is collected, in alignment with the CDASH standards, maintaining the accuracy and the quality of this collected data, and then finally exporting the data into the required submission formats. And while they're at this, they also need to manage the protocol, the protocol changes that come in very efficiently, and make sure that those updates are properly incorporated within the study setup. So the initial agenda, and moving to the first slide, which is on modern trial challenges. Okay, so now let's start with a very realistic scenario here. So now, you would all agree that traditional study startup, as we all know, just takes way too long in terms of modern day terms. You might have also experienced this yourself. In fact, statistically speaking, 85% of trials today run into delays, and this scenario becomes all the more evident for particularly late phase trials, wherein nearly 2 out of 3 protocols end up needing amendments. Now, just think about that for a second. Every amendment, kind of adds around approximately 3 months to the timeline, and say about $500,000 to extra costs. Now that's just not numbers on a slide. In fact, that is months of additional waiting that the patients have to do to receive their therapies. And on top of that, there are even regulators who are expecting the submission ready data sets to be provided to them on time. But even here, the truth is that more than 40% of those data sets are rejected on the first pass simply because they are not compliant. And add to that the inevitable data entry mistakes that might happen at the site level, and you have just got yourself the perfect recipe for a long drawn clinical data collection rework. So those are the typical challenges that there are other challenges as well, but then speaking from a data collection and management and submissions perspective, those are the critical challenges that modern day trials face. And before we move to the next slides, just want to leave before you big questions that we can always think about, and also once coding goes into the product demonstration, we will show you how we can cater to this. So the question is, how do we move faster without losing compliance or any of the data quality? Now that is where really the design of the EDC system will make all of the difference, which we will discuss about in our live demonstration. And over the next few slides, I'll also talk through on the fact that how any strong EDC should be able to cater to that, and what you should be looking for in next time you're in the market searching for an perfect EDC system for your trials. Okay, so now moving to the next slide, please. Okay, so now we start with study build, and yeah, definitely simplification is the ultimate objective that we all strive for. Just think about this for a moment. Typically speaking, building a study means months of programming, right? Now these include CRFs, edit checks, data reviews, all coded by these data clinical data specialists with long timelines, and all of this is has to be factored in even before you could start enrolling patients. Now that is something which is a sort of a bottleneck, right? Well, in modern EDCs, that whole perspective and scenario can be changed completely. You should be able to build studies in half the time, and instead of coding, you have got yourself very simple and intuitive drag and drop interface where forms will all come together very efficiently as part of one templates library. And because these templates are already CDISC, meeting the CDISC standards and are compliant to CDASH, you are in a position to start right from the very beginning. You're starting from a position of quality right from the very beginning, rather than scrambling later to put in the annotations at the very end after collecting the data. Yeah, so this is so that is something that we all strive for in terms of simplification of the study. And what's more, and what's all the more powerful in those templates that I just spoke about is that they would also include, or you would be able to include in a perfect EDC though, about so you can include in those templates data review and source data verification rules right from the get go, so that every time you reference a template to create these forms for your study, those data reviews and source data verification rules automatically get referenced. And in that way, what happens is that monitoring does not remain an afterthought after after you have collected the data. It's already built in, and you would not have to think about it and spend sleepless nights over it. So, here's just a little teaser as we build up for our demonstration. So in our demo, you will see just how quickly a study can be put together this way, using the forms, the templates, and all the SDV and the rules that have been brought in. And and as I move to the next slide, also, just a parting thought: just think about the last time you actually built a study on your EDC, and how much time did you actually spend, and how much time could you actually save in case you could use these tools and these amazing features that I just spoke about. Okay, so that's with this slide. Moving to the next slide, please. Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is compliance. Well, and let's and to be honest, like a lot of us would have actually dealt, would have actually dealt with the panic of realizing that our data sets are not compliant right at the very end, right before the submission of the data set, right? Now that's the old way, to be very honest, in the face of all the modern day EDC systems and the Cloudbyz EDC, which is also available in the market today. Like, so the old way is where effectively CDISC standards like CDASH, SDTM, and ADAM were tackled late in the process, late in the data collection process. And as you all know, that never really ends well. It leads to a lot of rework, delays, and effectively a lot of frustration. But then here is the shift that we are proposing as part of Cloudbyz EDC, wherein the compliance would be baked in right at the point of data capture, and not just brought in as as a quick fix at the very end. Now, when the sites are in fact entering data, it should already align to the CDASH standards. And as the study progresses, it should naturally flow into the SDTM structures. And from there, creating ADAM data sets should, basically be a straightforward process. Now, the benefit of this is pretty obvious. By the time you're ready for submission, your data would already be structured and compliant, and you would not have to really, waste any, last minute effort in terms of standardizing your data. And in the demonstration that we have lined up, we will also show you how the CRF entry, the data from the CRF, directly flows into CDISC ready data sets. So again, while I'm explaining and going over the remaining slides, just think about your own workflows and how much stress it would disappear instantly if you knew that your forms are already CDISC and CDASH compliant, and you would not really have to, do any after work after the actual data collection process has happened. Okay, moving to the next slide, please. We have spoken about compliance, we have spoken about simplification of the study setup. Moving to the version control process, which is pretty common for adaptive trials that happens nowadays. Now, we all know, right? Changes and amendments to protocol are pretty inevitable. Protocol changes, adding new endpoints, safety findings, eligibility adjustments, you can't really avoid them, because that is simply how the trials are supposed to evolve as we move along. Now the real issue here is not in terms of the amendments which are coming in, but in terms of how we can tackle them. So effectively the real issue is how can we effectively have a system which is configurable and flexible enough to manage all these version controls without compromising too much into the sanity of the stakeholders and the sanctity of the study setup in the system. So in fact that is something that new systems like Cloudbyz EDC and the other EDC systems would actually help you to do. In fact a well designed EDC is is not something that will be too rigid for you to make these changes. In fact, in our EDC, you can make the changes. You can test these new version of protocols in the sandbox first, validate it instantly, and then finally, once you are happy with the changes in the protocol, if it aligns with your protocol, if your study setup aligns with your protocol requirements, you can finally move that into production using a version control feature. And the most critical part of this is that the sites that you're working with will not even feel the disruption. They can just keep on entering data in the and activated forms and the CRFs, and in that sense, the patients can stay on track, and the sponsor at the end of the study gets a complete audit trail of every change that has been made. So yeah, that is how version control works, and that is how modern EDC systems, or in fact any robust EDC system like Cloudbyz, should be able to make your life easier, and not make it a complete rework every time you understand that there is a protocol amendment coming in, and you would have to rework on your study setup process. Okay, so that was about version control. Moving ahead to the next slide. Okay, so now let's finally talk about data quality, because at the end of the day, if the data is not as per standards, if we are not collecting accurate data, then whatever we spoke about, it would not really make sense, right? So so effectively, everything that is happening downstream, in fact, depends on this data, that the data that the sites are entering, the PIs and the sub investigators are entering. So as I just said, if the data is messy, then it is effectively will lead to a domino effect that will lead to more queries, more cleaning, and in overall an overall delay in terms of completing the study. So a robust EDC system should be able to prevent a lot of that right at the point of entry, where the sites are collecting the data. Forms should have inbuilt hard and soft edit checks that should catch the errors, make alert the users, the data collection users, right at the time where they are making the mistakes. And there would be inbuilt communication channels that would make it really easy for the site staff, or even for the CRAs, to instantly recognize these problems and resolve the issues. Have an inbuilt query system through which they can communicate with each other, identify queries, resolve them, and instantly close out any issues or any communication gaps which might exist, without having to go through endless email chains over Microsoft Outlook. But yeah, again, as we discuss about these interactions, we should also be cognizant of the fact that every action that happens for the active data collection should also be traceable. Audit trails should be available that should capture every piece of information in terms of who has made changes to the data, when has it happened and why has it happened. And not only does it have and not only should it be there to meet the regulatory requirements from FDA, or EMA, or the TGA, but it should also be there so that you can have confidence in the data that you have collected, so that tomorrow, when there would be questions, you could stand by your data and ensure that yeah, the data that we have collected is very accurate, and every change has been accounted and documented. So once you have done all of this, what would happen is that the final result, the data collected, the data sets would be extremely clean, trustworthy, and they would be ready to be taken forward. In fact, this would lead to shorter monitoring cycles, reconciliation becomes easier, and submissions become way more smoother. And yes, we will in fact show this in the demo as well, how these real time edit checks and audit trails actually help you in collection of data much more accurately and much more faster. So before I move ahead, just a quick question. Um, you would have done this process previously for your trials. Now think of the fact that if you had these real-time edit checks available, how much time would it save you in terms of rework, and in fact what would be the quantum of time and effort that you can save, which you could have put to other value-added tasks, rather than going over the same data collection activities and ensuring that every data is collected accurately. So yeah, I just leave you with that thought, and as we promised, we will also show you in the demonstration how that is happening, and how we can take care of all these challenges that you might face in your day-to-day data collection activities. Moving to the next slide, please. Okay, so finally we have the Cloudbyz EDC that we would like to present before you. I'm pretty sure you would have heard of it. It's pretty popular in the market, and we are getting a lot of requests from different stakeholders. But then, Cloudbyz EDC is, our CDM platform. It is very, it is, part of our Cloudbyz clinical solution, which includes the CTMS, the ETMF, the safety database, and different other tools that you need for clinical trials. And effectively, it is one uniform solution. And given that it is so modular, we can deploy it. Depending on your requirements, it can be deployed as an individual solution, as an EDC, or if you would want it to be deployed along with our cleanops, applications like the CTMS and the ETMF, we can also do that as well. So it's extremely seamless. There is no prior integration needed, and the data flow happens very seamlessly with centralization of data at one location. So net it is a win-win, both from your CDM perspective, and going forward, if you're looking to bring in your cleanops team as well, we have the tools, and every data can be part of one centralized database. So from a short-term standpoint, it provides you with the definite advantages that I just spoke about. And on the long term, you will have a unified solution that takes care of all of your requirements end to end. Okay, so I think I have given quite a bit of overview about Cloudbyz, and the audience would be eagerly waiting for the live demonstration. So, Corinne, over to you.
Well, we don't have too much time, so we won't be going into like a full-fledged end-to-end demo of the EDC. There's lots of features and functions to look at, so I'd be happy to set up a future demo with anybody one-on-one. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always available and flexible depending on your time zone. So yeah, please reach out. But without further ado, just kind of looking at some of the features that Tanir highlighted during those slides. First and foremost, looking at the homepage here, which is going to show us some metrics and some data that's automatically being populated based on the data that's being entered into the system. So this homepage dashboard, it can be user specific, which is nice. So if you have different user personas logging in, whether they're your data managers or your reviewers from the CRA perspective, or your site staff, for the various sites, they have their own designated site portal that they can access. So we can have this user-specific layout set up, which is great. We'll come back to the reports and dashboards afterwards, but just to give you an idea, so this is just an example, but these are really easy to configure, the reports themselves, the dashboards themselves. I can add text, I can add images, I can change my chart types, and even the colors as well if I had a specific color schema that I wanted to work with. So lots of flexibility with that. You don't have to rely on Cloudbyz to generate reports, and you're not going to get those a week later when it's stale data. Everything is in real time, and you have the ability as an end user to generate as many reports and dashboards as you'd like. That's always a bonus. Okay, we will jump into our clinical studies. So here I'm looking at all of my studies, and they're sorted by therapeutic area, just to kind of give an option there of a view. We could also have it as a list view. We could have it as, sorted by status or phase or geographical region. That's just user preference as well. And I'm pinning this list so that every time I come back to this page, this is going to be my default view because this is how I prefer that. So to add a new study, we simply click the new button. I have a lot of studies already set up here. So we'll go into one of those that I've already got configured. Just details in the first tab about that study. What I really want to focus on is that study setup aspect. So from my study setup, I have various builders. I have the ability to import forms from my forms library. So this forms library is allowing me to generate templates and reuse those templates across different studies. I can import them, like you'll see shortly, and then make further study-specific changes if that's required. So it's going to save a lot of time. So for example, in our form builder, I already have a CDISC-AE form, but just to show you what that looks like to pull that in. So we click the import button, we select our form, I select what fields I'd like. Maybe I don't need one of these. So I can pick and choose what fields or sections that I want to import in that form. But as I said, I've already got one here, so we'll work with that. we can see that it's version 3 and it's set to active. When I'm importing a form for the first time or generating a form even from scratch, so I can always create a form from scratch, it doesn't have to come from the forms library, it'll always be in a draft mode so that I can make my changes and assign my permissions and things like that. And then activating it just looks like a couple steps, so I'll walk through that process as well. So we have our sections, we have our fields. So the first one here, what is the AE term? We've got our field variables. And as you can see, when I hover over things, I actually can't edit this because the form is active. And so that's where we get into the versioning of the form. And I'll showcase that just because I want to make some edits to this. I'm going to implement a rule that I've missed maybe. So we'll go ahead and see what that process looks like. So to do that, I've got to clone this. I can enter a change reason. So adding rule. It's telling me that it's cloning. It'll give me an update once that is finished. But I have the ability to also look at previous versions too. And what was the reason that it was updated from the last time? We can always check the audit trail. I can download a PDF from this point as well of that CRF or that form if I needed to do offline data capture with just traditional pen and paper, taking it back to the Stone Age there. So I can generate a PDF, which is nice. Preview the PDF. That'll open up and I can capture information just manually. So that's great. So it told us that that has been updated. Let's refresh this. We're on version 4 now. As you can see, it's draft. I would have to put an effective from date in order to activate it. We could also implement a review process if that's required for each individual level customer that we acquire. We set up those specific nuances for them. So coming to our form that is now version 4, it's a draft. I wanted to add a rule here. So was the adverse event life-threatening? We have additional functions below that where I can set up my rule. Our field variables below that, I can add multiple variables. So maybe I wanted to add Atom or SDTM or an OID. So I can compound those variables. It's not just one. I can add multiple. There's the field variable, which I've taken from the CDISC or the CDASH library there. And again, if I needed to add additional ones, I can. But right now we're focusing on building a rule. So we'll go ahead and add my rule, enter a description. If yes, display message. It's always nice to add a description, not mandatory, but it's definitely helpful. We have a rule library. Again, lots of rules, libraries or templates that we can select from to save us some time. So standard, thinking about date rules. You can't have one procedure before another, or, procedure can't occur before the ICF date. So those are standard, and you can use those from pull those from the rule library. We'll go ahead and build it from scratch. So we want to select our field, was the adverse event life-threatening? And then it's if it was equal to yes. I know that this is the equals for our operator, but there's lots of other options as well, right? Greater than, less than, parentheses, subtraction, adding, and then lots of functions too. If you wanted to get more complex with building those rules, there's, between for values and ranges for thinking about blood pressure or any of those vital sign ranges that we want to keep in check. If something is null, or blank. So lots of functions that we can go with, but this is just a very basic rule that I'm building. And then we'll go ahead and use the syntax checker, which is nice. All looks good. I haven't gotten any errors there. So we'll save that. What I want to do with that rule is add an action. So this is where we're getting into the actual what is triggering based off of this parameter being met. If this question is answered as yes, maybe we want an email alert to be triggered to be sent to various users or roles. We have a soft and a hard validation. So just kind of explaining the difference between the two of those is soft validation, which is what I'm going to set up here, is going to just show a display message. It's going to allow the user to enter the data, but it might flag it for whoever's designated to review that to come back and see why that is being flagged. So So we'll set that up. There's a hard validation. So you won't even be able to save the page if the data captured is outside of the parameters set. So there's a hard validation. A field can be updated based on the data entry of this one. Even a system-generated query. So saving even more time just from the review perspective. So we don't even have to have a human intervention involved. We could have, oh, sorry about that. We could have the system do a check and generate a query if anything is outside of the realm of what we've proposed in our parameters for the rule. So what I'm going to do is set up a soft validation. We're going to have a message saying ensure fatal and life-threatening SAEs are reported within 24 hours. And then we can even allow them to bypass, enter why they're bypassing that information or trigger that flag that's being raised. And then even have a form be mandatory to add. So if this was maybe why wasn't a procedure done, you could prompt the user to enter a protocol deviation or something like that. So a lot of functions with the rules, which is great. I'll go ahead and save that. And then below that, permissions. So setting up the rules as well as the permissions and who has the ability to do what. So we want to give the sub-I read access, not edit access. We want to give the admin all access. So you can change that around, right? So now that I've made my changes to my rule, I'll go ahead and activate my form. As I said, there can be a review process in place. We'll deactivate our previous form as well. So you could have overlapping ones there, but that's all being taken account to with the effective from and effective to date. And we'll move on to the actual data entry, just so you can see what that rule looks like when I trigger it, right? So that was our CDISC AE form. Back to our site portal here. So as a site user, coordinator, or otherwise, I can navigate to my list of studies. So studies by Toronto General Hospital. This is the comprehensive list of all the studies that Toronto General Hospital is conducting. We'll go into site 10 Cato. I'm the PI here at this particular site. We see additional sub-tabs, so we're going to go directly into our study data for data capture. We see our subject statuses. I can scroll to see that information. I can toggle this to my data statuses to see how data entry is doing, if there's anything pending signature or PI signed or data errors as well. So I can see that and toggle between my subject status and my data status, which is nice. We'll add a fresh subject. The system generated ID and the subject number, those will be automatically assigned. I just have to hit the save button. So that is a step new. We see their visits. And then within those visits, there's additional CRFs that require data entry. But what I wanted to showcase was just that AE form that we made an update to and what that rule looks like when we trigger it. So we'll go ahead and add an AE. Stroke. If you're using our medical coding, incorporated with this as well, these could be coded, right? ConMeds, medical history, and AEs can be coded. So that's great. Those can feed into that module that we offer, which is great. So you're getting a full system there. Some parenting. We'll say pretty severe. Stroke is pretty severe. When I say yes, I get additional fields coming up here. Do the adverse event cause of death? And it will say no. Was it life-threatening? This is where we've implemented our rule. And now that message is now appearing on screen for us to see. So when I save that, because I've indicated that there's a bypass, it will allow me to bypass that, but it'll be logged in the audit trail. So we'll say recovered. To be followed up with. We'll go ahead and save that. So as we can see, when I go back to that kind of overall status, it's telling us that there is a error message, and that's coming from that bypass rule that I've set up there. So we'll look at that. So this is triggering a bypass. I haven't changed my information there, but the validation rule has been bypassed, and that has logged in the audit trail as well, any of the data or information. Alrighty. And then once that is completed, I bypass that, so that will recalibrate. The status will be completed, as you can see, and then it can go for continue that process of data review. Whoever's designated to do that, they would be notified that that form or ECRF is now ready for them to go in and start reviewing and issuing queries if required, right? So that would happen internally, not from the site portal, but they would go through that process of marking things as data reviewed and SDV'd. Moving back internally, a couple of things I do want to showcase, just because Tanir mentioned it as well, was the data push production, right? So we have the ability to select. So right now I'm in a sandbox, which is what is customary for our customers to get. It's a sandbox environment where they can configure those forms, test those forms, see what everything looks like, and make sure it's all good before they go ahead and select which ones they want to push to the final environment, the production environment, if you will, for go live. So we do have that functionality. I can start that log and define where that data will be pushed to. So there is that, just to kind of minimize any issues in the production environment. We want to make sure everything is tested in the test environment, and then once everything's good to go, we push it ahead with no disruptions there or no work needed. It's just a click of a button. And then you get as well the error logs if there are any, and so you can always troubleshoot that. Okay, let's come back to our study, because within the study, there's a couple functions that we have as well. So for the study data itself, we have the ability to, as he said, upversion the forms. So mid-study amendments, changes, always going to be kind of inevitable, but the way that we roll those out can be minimized for just impact to the sites and the data entry that they're doing, making sure everybody's all on the same page, and these are being rolled out with as soon as possible. So we would select the ECRF. We can select which sites are now under that protocol, perhaps. We've selected all. We could select our subjects that are impacted. Maybe only those forms that are new or in progress, because anything that beyond that, we don't want to impact that. That's data that has already been locked and signed off on, so we don't want to impact that data. And then we're saying that we're going from version 1, 2, 3, looks like I have a lot of versions, version 8 to version 9, and then I can go ahead and upversion those forms. So that process, again, click of a button, there should be no impact to the sites themselves and how they're capturing the data. And then as well, the form export. So being able to define in what format we would like that data exported, a nice tidy zip file. We'll select all of our sites, all of our subjects, all visits, all forms, the entire enchilada, and then even the form status. Maybe we just want those that have been PI signed. So those are all finished up, no changes to be made. Maybe we're doing interim analysis or something like that. We want to see that information. I can define what the variable type is that I would like that exported as. So as I said, that'll download as a zip file of Excels, which is nice. You get the data as well as the audit trail. Alrighty. Let's bring it back to our home page. The only thing that I additionally I wanted to showcase was that unified aspect. So I have the ability to toggle between the different applications in my system beyond EDC if that is being leveraged. So I can toggle between that and the eTMF, for example. As we can see, the page kind of changes a little bit. We're seeing different metrics more related to the eTMF versus the CTMS and so on and so forth. So same study, same site, same subjects across all of the modules. It's just the lens at which we're looking at that information, which it will change. And then in terms of the reports, as I said, those are configurable. No need to wait on us. They're really easy to handle and generate on your own. So for example, we'll look at this PDs by classification report. So I can change my chart type, right? If I wanted to see it stacked donut column, I can change my X and Y axes. I can play around with the colors. There's all kinds of things that I can do with this, as well as editing, adding additional fields and dragging and dropping those in and changing my columns. I can group, add filters, create formulas fields just for, calculating averages or the sum of things. So a lot of nice functionality with the reports and the dashboards, which is coming from just Salesforce functionality, which is great. Alrighty. Tanir, anything else? I think I pretty much touched on a lot of what you kind of went over in your slides, but if you can think of anything else, by all means.
Oh, no, I'm good. I think we have pretty much summed it up again. I think there's much more to EDC, but given the time constraint, there's only so much that we can show for. So
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's the entire data review process. There's expanding the EDC into the randomization and looking at that, and then as well, ePros and eCOAs, and how do we manage that through the participant portal, which is similar to the site portal, but allows for the volunteers, the participants in the studies to log in and complete e-consents, as well as their e-diaries or ePros if that's applicable for the study, all with notifications and role permissions. So yeah, there's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot to kind of go through in the EDC, but just to kind of focus and highlight on today's topic with the standardization and quick study startup and study build. Alrighty. I think we can probably open it up to some questions now. I'm not sure if any had come in while we were presenting.
Thanks, Corinne. No, we don't have any questions, but yeah, I mean, let's open the floor for questions. But thank you so much, Corinne and Tanir, for taking us through the insights and the demo today. Any questions from the audience that any specific use case that you'd want to see on the EDC? Any specific questions that you may have?
I'm also available if anybody wants to take it offline. Feel free to shoot me an email, or we can connect on LinkedIn as well if we need to schedule an additional demo. Happy to do that too. All right, I think that'll be it, Pooja. I think.
Oh, we have a question. Sorry.
Oh,
sorry,
just
just
as
go
I said
on.
it.
Okay. So we have a question from Rahul. So if I understand this right, the EDC has a mapping to CDASH conformance capability in-house built-in validator for conformance checks and ability to also handle external data biomarker.
Okay, so let's take this. We'll digest it. There's a couple questions in there. So yes, mapping in the sense that you're able to take those CDASH templates and then upload those as your template to be used for the study builds as well. And then the in-house built-in validator for conformance checks. So if we're just referring to like the edit checks as that, then yes, there is the in-house built-in validation that you can, as an end user, build yourself. So you can create those rules. You can handle that all with just drag and drop and the the formula builder or the rule builder that I showed. And then the ability to also handle external data. Yes, so Salesforce allows for data ingestion as a CSV. So you do have the ability to import data into the system a lot easier than most. And then as well, we also have our AI tool, which we only briefly touched upon, but that has the ability to extract data from PDFs and source documentation and map it into the system. I hope that answers your question, Rahul. And if we have to connect offline, I'm happy to do so as well.
We still have 10 minutes to go. Corinne, Anthony, are there any frequently asked questions that you've come across when you meet people via demo or like at events? Anything that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think I can think of one. Maybe I can just share it across because that's a frequently asked question. In fact, I think one of the EDC demos that we just did a few hours back, the question came up. So there's a very frequent question in terms of integration. Again,
Yeah.
Corinne, you might have already touched upon this, but just to reiterate that. So integration in our system compared to other EDC vendors, what happens is that there is a per study integration that happens, right, for other vendors or for the EDC platforms, which kinds of which kind of makes it very cumbersome both from a financial standpoint as well as from an effort estimation standpoint, because for every study you would have to reinvent the wheel in terms of integration and connecting with the endpoints. Compared to that, our EDC is much more flexible. What we have is what we call a configurable integration module, by which once we integrate with a third party application, we can like, depending on the study that you are doing, and if it is a same third party system, we can just even if if you're looking to take in different endpoints for different studies, we can always do that, and we can change, we can configure the in terms of the fields that you would want to intake as part of that particular study. Sorry. So that is something that is available, and it is charged one time. Like there is a one time integration effort that gets put in for creating this particular configurable integration module, and that's it. And then you can basically do as many integrations with your studies as you want, and take things forward from there. So just wanted to highlight that, because that, I believe, is a very distinct advantage that Cloudbyz EDC has compared to other vendors. Corinne, if you would want to add something to this, please feel free to.
No, that's great. I totally agree. We get that a lot. And just based off previous experience and integrations we've done in the past, it's pretty seamless. So that's great.
We have another question from Dr. Sapna. How does the EDC handle decentralized or virtual trial data capture? And then she has ePro wearables, mobile integrations. Corinne Tonier would want to take this up.
How does EDC handle data? Great question, Dr. Sapna. Yeah, we have done that as well, integrations with wearables. It is available. Our system can be available for ePro data capture on the mobile devices. So this is the screen just automatically renders to whatever screen is being used, whether it's a phone or a tablet or anything like that. So no issues there that we've had in the past. And then, as I said, yes, we've ingested data from wearables, from heart monitors or blood pressure machines themselves, like directly integrating into the EDC or the eSource as well. Yeah, no problem.
I think I have one question again, just on the top of my mind, that we again get frequently asked, not only for our EDC, but I think across platforms, is it is about the data residency. Where does the data reside? In terms of the geographical location of the data, because that I believe is very critical requirement for GDPR, especially for our European prospects and customers, as well as for our other regions as well. So given the fact that we are built on top of Salesforce, it is so basically the data, the customer data, or the the production data resides in your Salesforce data centers, which are basically owned by you, and we do not have any control over it. Just to be clear on that term. And in fact, the data center location is automatically selected by Salesforce depending on the address that you provide us with. So, like, say for example, you're based out of the UK, or you're based out of any region in Europe, say Germany. Once we give the business location, it will Salesforce will automatically allocate the data center which is nearest to your location, and that effectively ensures that you meet with the GDPR compliance requirements that you have for any regulatory body to which you're submitting your data. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that two factors: one, Cloudbyz does not have any access to your production data, and second is, whatever might be your data residency requirements, we completely meet that across the globe.
Thank you so much, Tanir. Thank you so much, Corinne. I believe we can close the session. So, yeah, so you can schedule a personalized demo with that team. You can always reach out to us through our website, cloudbyz.com/request demo, or email it to us at info@cloudbyz.com. Once again, recording and slides will be sent to you tomorrow. And thank you once again. We look forward to seeing you next month with our next webinar. Thanks a lot, everyone. Wish you a good day and good evening ahead. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, happy long weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.